the declared emergency. It may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Any member of council declaring a pecuniary interest? Seeing none, and we will proceed. Item number 3, additions to agenda. It's recommended that the special council budget meeting agenda dated November 24th be accepted as presented. Are there any errors or additions? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion and a seconder. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Bartlett moved it. A seconder, please. Councillor Scholdice. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. Staff reports. 4A. Operations Department, Public Works. This is a continuation. Greg, thank you for joining us today. I'll give you the floor and you can walk us through your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Can you hear me okay?
I certainly can. You're perfect.
Can I share my screen, Joe? I gotta find it now. Hold on. Can you see that?
Not yet, Greg. No.
Okay, hold on. Let me try again here. For some reason, it's giving me the old. Okay, I'm having trouble sharing my screen. Let me try one more time. I got it open. Oh, here it is. Good. Now you can see it.
Yep, it's on, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Allen, and thank you, Council, for giving me the opportunity to present this business plan. I at this point I will apologize for my missing the last budget meeting, and do certainly appreciate the help that I got from Jill and Kristen with regards to some challenges I was having for the last couple of weeks, but certainly appreciate the opportunity to present this today. So this is the operations plan for Public Works. I will take you through it quickly. The operations department, Public Works, is comprised of water, wastewater, stormwater, drainage, landfills, curbside waste collection, transportation, and involves all capital infrastructure, and is responsible for the complete operation of each department. We work annually on capital budgets, preparing capital budgets that are based on the goals and that are set by council. And we implement a service delivery strategy that's set through operations budget and by council as well. In the water operations end, we have Aqua as our operator of our contract and our distribution and our sanitary systems. With regards to stormwater, it's comprised of our municipal drain network, which Andrew handles, which is well over 800 drains. We have the 2 landfills we're working on. We have the curbside collection program that's dealt with on a daily basis. The department operates and maintains a local road network of about 850 kilometers. The key goals of the department are to continue to implement a high level of service to all residents of Southwest Middlesex, to continue to rebuild the aging infrastructure in the municipality, to continue a progressive approach to the municipality's landfills, to keep them moving forward. I have outlined some of our key customers, which are also our residents, businesses, Middlesex County, federal and provincial government agencies, other non-government agencies, all the contractors that we deal with, and all the internal municipal departments within the municipality. Our core business and services offered by the department would obviously be the drinking water distribution system, the wastewater system, stormwater management, municipal drains, the waste transfer station, curbside pickup, our 2 landfills, our roadways, We're extensively involved in development and in the building departments. We are responsible to certain pieces of legislation as we do our job every day. And that can be anything from the Municipal Act to the Occupational Health and Safety Act or regulations associated with the Ministry of Labor. There are certain links to the municipal plan that I've put in here, or the strategic plan. And those are highlighted there. Links to the municipal asset management plan. We are work on a daily basis with trying to help in the finance department for the creation of assets and the updating of assets and moving that particular document forward. We work daily in the different levels of GIS mapping, and we are highly involved in the work order program, the work order module for the public works side. So some of the program achievements in 2020, the asset management program, we implemented the works module program place in January 2020. And we've worked extensively in the development of the asset management plan. This included refining all our assets and then beginning the process of condition assessment to bring those up to date. And we will continue to work in that direction. We'll say that we're probably more advanced than most municipalities when it comes to asset management. And that is a very good thing moving forward in the future. We assist council with the preparation of the strategic plan. Every day we're looking for grant opportunities that may assist the citizens with regards to any type of capital investment that we can get. That can include bigger projects as well as any type of grant support projects that we can get from different levels of government. We work with all the developers on a daily basis. We'll continue to do that. Everybody does understand we're kind of the hub of development activity at this particular point, where we have a fair bit of pressure going on, but we continue to work with those groups, try to get as much information out as we can. And we work within the planning process as set out by the county. The prepared and tendered to implement the new waste curbside collection program that's been in place. We feel that's working very well, and staff continue to work on a daily basis to help residents if they need assistance in that part of the program. Capital itself, with preparation of the capital implementation, the pandemic made it a little more difficult with capital, but we forged through and completed a number of projects. Projects like the River Road was just before, but certainly the roof replacement stuff at the yard, downtown lighting replacement in Glencoe, the stormwater master plan in Wardsville, Elburn and Middlemas surface treatments. These are just some of the projects that were completed. We work in cooperation with the County of Middlesex for the cycling strategy, and that was incorporated into the Facilities and Rec Master Plan. We created new municipal standards for the municipality, which is a big step forward for all the developers when they come into our community. And we continue to work with the landfills, transfer station, the curbside collection program, and we will see further presentation moving forward with regards to Trillium. One of the areas that we've spent a lot of time is on the work on the municipal drain process, and certainly council knows that now that our goal is to make sure that we bring in everybody who's involved in municipal drains into the conversation. It has made it easier at the council level, and we will continue to do that with our scoping program if necessary, and just give people the opportunity, if they are writing checks, that they are involved in every municipal drain or the municipal drains that they're involved in. They have to be part of that particular process. Staff work every day and making sure that we communicate that to those people, and it's extremely important moving forward. Modeling of the water and sanitary systems. This particular project is just about complete at this point. Expect to have that particular plan within the next month, and we continue to work with WSP on that particular part of the project, which is a modeling of our water and our sanitary systems, both in Glencoe and in Wardsville. Investigation of sanitary collection services for Appin and Melbourne. There hasn't been much movement on that. We're simply at the point where we're trying to get a handle on what we have in place right now. And certainly once we have that modeling information, we'll have a little bit more information to make a little better judgments moving forward for those type of services that happen in Melbourne. The winter operations plans, which basically guides the way we deal with snow in the winter, which outlines different routes and when we plow snow, and certainly how we handle the downtowns, that type of thing, was updated in 2021, and we'll continue to do that. Goals and major initiatives moving forward for the next 3 years. We don't know a lot about this, and certainly something that I'm involved with right now is the preparation to the transition to the provinces to the producer pay recycling program. And we just don't know the total outcome of this yet, but I've participated in a number of surveys for the municipality. And really the thrust of it is that the producers of recycling materials will be responsible for that program. At what level, we don't know at this point, but we'll continue to participate and get as much information we can to the province so that those decisions can be properly made for our community. Asset management will continue to move forward, certainly in landfills, service levels. You will see, this particular area, it will move around based on, what type of budgets are approved, etc. But, our goal every day is to have a high service level and get back to people as soon as possible. We'll continue with our work in the winter operations and the municipal drains and capital. We do have a standard operating guideline procedures for health and safety that we've put in place, and we'll continue to update them. We'll continue to work in that modeling area, in which will detail some of the investigation that can happen in Melbourne. We always watch for grants. It's very similar to 2023, and 2024 will be heading in that same direction. The particular setup for this particular department is the Director of Operations, myself, and Rob Cole as Public Works Supervisor, of the Drainage Superintendent. We have some coordinated administration, shared help. The crew leader itself, which is part of the union. Sorry, somebody's calling me. I think I'm in trouble. From the government, IRS or something. 6 full-time operation staff, 2 full-time contract staff, and you will see an addition here of 2 contract summer staff. And that particular addition has been added to this particular plan. And that is to assist with, a different level of service that we found last summer, which was the removal of weeds on all our roads. So that there is being addressed here. That is a different level of service than what has been offered in the past, but that is the department reacting to inquiries from citizens, council, et cetera, with regards to weeds. I do go through a little bit of when people are there and the on-call responses and the 24-hour service. We always are going to have to respond to legislative and technology changes and council changes as part of the delivery of the program. You can see how the staff full-time units has been increased by 1. That is the 2 staff. We'll continue to train, which we do on a regular basis for roads training for our staff, any type of chainsaw training, that type of stuff. We all now have tablets and are trained through HR downloads with standard operating guidelines. And we do provide winter operations training every year for certain staff that require it. That's pretty much the end, Mayor Allen. Certainly the restructuring is something that happened in Public Works as well as Facilities and Rec. And one of the things we do, that we know now is that that particular structure is very effective in the service delivery response to the residents of the municipality. Whether I get something, Jill gets it, Rob gets it, it gets out there quickly and gets addressed on a timely basis. And it is a key to operations, both in Facility and Rec and Public Works, that the residents, when they call, they get a quick and firm response to their questions. So, Mayor Allen, that is the Public Works business plan for moving forward, and I'm certainly available if there's any questions. Jill, I'm going to stop sharing here.
Thank you, Greg, very much. You're a busy guy today at this meeting. That is the first of 2 reports you'll be giving. Council, the business plan has been explained to you and put before you. Very often, the political voice is what conveys the message to administration. And as I've said in the past, we can get the problems resolved for our constituents by directly conveying them to our administration in a concise and accurate way. And we certainly appreciate that, Greg. Council, are there any questions on the business end of it? We're not talking numbers here, just on the philosophies, the work philosophies. Are there any questions? I'll give you a minute there. Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead. Questions through the chair to Greg. Yeah, Martin, you might be on mute there.
Sorry, Mayor Allen.
That's good. We got you now.
Okay. To Greg, I know I mentioned this a little while back. Bridge and culverts, are we not supposed to have a survey of that every 2 years? And I don't recall the last time that we received something in council in regards to the condition of bridges and culverts.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Vink. Greg certainly can respond to that if you can.
Yeah, and through you, and thanks for the question, Councillor Vink. That particular, the inspection of culverts and bridges is supposed to happen every 2 years. The last one we had done was in 2018, and the latest has just been completed. So so we do have a current one. I'm just waiting for a listing from the engineers that did the OSIM sheets, or the survey of all our culverts and bridges, which will highlight where our priorities are within that particular document, which is basically a condition-based document. You also note that we do have $531,000 in the capital budget that has been proposed moving forward for culverts and bridges. And once we get these priorities, which are condition-based priorities, we will apply that particular dollar figure to those priorities, and they will become the work that needs to be completed in 2022.
Okay, thank you. We'll look forward to that, Greg. Any follow-ups, Councillor Vink? Yes, go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. And Greg, I noticed in the last survey, there's some culverts that don't have the year that they were put in. Is there ever any attempt to find out what year they're put in? I know I had a raper ask me about one in Tate's Corners area, and I checked it out, and there's no year when it was put in. So is there any attempt to get the year that they were put in?
Okay. Thank you. Greg, go ahead.
Well, through you, Mary Ellen, there are a couple different ways that we can try to find out when culverts were put in. If they're related to a municipal drain, certainly we can go back in those particular reports and get, when the report was done, and certainly when some of that work was done, we can see that. There are going to be cases where we just don't know. Some of these culverts are fairly old. Some of the stuff, and that's really kind of, when the government sets sort of a criteria for culverts and bridges and says that you must inspect these on every 2 years, that's what we rely on. So the age of a culvert is not, in some cases, if a culvert's 50 years old, maybe in better shape than a culvert that's been in the ground for 25 years. So what we're going to respond to is the actual condition of those culverts and bridges that were inspected, and the priorities that come out of that document. Then we will implement those priorities.
Good.
I would agree with Councillor Vink. There are cases, lots of cases, where we find pipes and culverts. We have no idea when they're put in or how old they are.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Thank you, Greg. Council, any further questions? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a councillor moving the business report and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Cal. Is there a seconder for that? Or is that a question, Krista? Okay, thank you for moving the report. Is there a seconder for Councillor Cal's motion? Councillor Vink, thank you very much. Last call for discussion. All in favor? Motion's carried. Greg, thank you for delivering that business plan. We're on 4B, Greg, of the agenda, where we are entering into operating budget presentation of 2022. And I'll give you the floor and we can just kind of slowly work our way through that.
Through you, Mary Ellen. Kristen, is this where you start or is?
I think so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen, I'll hand it over to you then, okay? Yeah.
All right, I'll just share my screen here. Is everybody looking at
Yes, looks
the
good.
operating
Kristen.
budget? All right.
It is.
Okay. So this is set up very similar to what we've seen in previous years. So as a starting point, our assessment growth did come up a little bit this year, but still not as substantial as we've seen in previous years. This will all be new growth. Revenue has gone up $9,000, and we'll see later on, but that's mostly due to not budgeting in the previous year for a full year of the Elm revenue and interest that we forgave for half the year this year due to COVID. So and expenses have gone up $842,802. So that means that we need to raise $665,503 to balance the budget, and that's an increase of 6.58% right now. So that would be an annual increase of about $173.82, or $14.49 a month for an average residential house. In 2022, a 1% tax increase represents $101,172, and so far have received no information on county and school board rates, so we're assuming that they are staying the same. Any difference we can pull from the tax rate stabilization later. So because we're starting at a pretty significant rate right now, these are some of the, if council wishes to get to a specific target, this is the money that we're going to have to find. So if you want to decrease to 6%, we're going to need to decrease expenses by $58,000, $159,600 to get to 5%, and so on. So items of interest right now, as of October, cost of living is sitting at 4.9%, which is extremely high. The cost of construction and manufacturing, they have their own index, and it's also very high. It's higher than the residential or the average tax or cost of living, sorry. MPAC has still deferred assessments, and we're hoping to see that come in the next year to 2 years. I'm hoping. We budgeted another 17% increase for insurance, and we don't have the OCIF outline yet for 2022. And in 2021, it was $413,000. That's pretty specific for construction, or infrastructure projects, I'm sorry. So some of the key financial indicators that Jill proposed and brought back to council in September were taxes receivable, less allowance, foreign collectibles, net financial assets, reserves and reserve funds as a percent. We can go, I give the calculation for each of these going forward. It kind of measures the overall health of the organization. So total taxes receivable less allowance for collectibles is basically how much of the taxes billed are not collected. So we are at 10.17, which is down from the previous 2 years but still listed as moderate as a sustainability indicator. We do have a couple of accounts that are difficult. I should just leave it at that. How much tax and fee revenue is servicing debt? That is 70.43% this year. And that is moderate, but it's mostly because of the funds and reserves for the daycare. We've got, at the end of 2020, we have 2.5 sitting in reserves in funds that the county gave us towards the daycare. And that also factors into the next measure, how much money is set aside for future needs and contingencies. And we're at 141.89%. And again, because of the 2.5 million in reserves for the daycare. Cash and cash equivalents as a percent of current liabilities measures the ability of the municipality to meet its obligations with its current resources on hand. So we're at 6.87, and that is a low risk. So we are good there. Debt servicing indicates the extent to which past borrowing decisions may impact the current budget. Again, at 4.95%, which is low risk. The asset consumption ratio indicates how much of the asset's life expectancy has been consumed. We're at 33.22%, which is low risk. And finally, the operating surplus ratio, which indicates the municipality's ability to cover its operational costs and have funds available for other purposes. And that's listed as high. All right, so I know everybody was very excited about that, but if we move into what makes up the assessment growth, we can see that there is some in residential. Farm actually decreased, commercial decreased, industrial decreased, but parking lots went up 79.41%. I apologize, I'm just getting over a cold, so I may cough on you. So the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund, you've probably heard quite a bit about this over the years. Just a little overview. It was established in 2005 to replace the Community Reinvestment Fund, and specifically to assist with social programs, assessment, equalization, and farmland assessment, northern and rural communities, and police services. So it was at this time that we switched from taxing farmland at 100% with it being rebated through the provincial government. Basically, that was downloaded to us. So the OMPF was in part supposed to replace what we're now missing on the farm tax. So in 2022, at the 25% ratio imposed, we will collect 1.4 million in taxes for farmland, leaving the 75% that we would have gotten to be 4.414 million, and our OMPF is only 997. So over the past 10 years, OMPF has underfunded just our farmland ratio by $15 million. And then, sorry, in the past, farmland property was credited through the provincial government. Result is more and more local, rural, residential, and commercial property owners are the ones supporting local farmers through local property taxes instead of all of Ontario. So because we're mostly impacted, the rural communities are more impacted than, say, Toronto by the change in farmland ratio. Our residents are carrying more of that burden. So the breakdown of taxes between classes. So of the proposed 6.8 million that we need to collect, 68% is from the residential class, 21.46 from farm, and you can see the rest commercial, industrial, multi-res, and how the rest of that is broken down. And the impact of tax increases over time, this is the Martin slide. I do expect to see this change quite a bit with the next MPAC assessment increase. I think we've all noticed that residential prices have skyrocketed. So I expect to see farmland not grow quite as much at the rate that residential will grow. So this will, in my opinion, even out in the next, assessment to like 1 to 2 assessment cycles. So this is the summary slide from the capital budget that we saw last. Capital purchase costs of 13.4 million are proposed, with 775 of it being raised through taxes. So when we talk about the asset management, it is really monitoring and proposing replacements for current assets. So anytime we add something new on, that is going to, firstly, should not be a component of the recommended cost of replacement, and it will also form part of that replacement cost going forward. So this is a breakdown of the assets that require a portion to be raised through taxes and whether or not they're existing assets or new assets. So, and this information has changed a little bit since the capital one because the assessment base increased a bit. But the recommendation was an average annual capital requirement of 4.6 million, with funding available for 1.5 million, leaving 3.9 to be raised through taxes. In order to get there, the financial strategy proposed 1.8% of our taxes each year to be raised in addition to what was raised in the previous year to go towards assets. So in 2021, we raised 339,000 in taxes for capital. So at the 1.8 recommended capital increase, that gives us 521. And so like the proposed capital of existing assets that we saw in this slide here is 680,000. So we are, as it stands, we are we're actually 158,000 over the recommended asset management recommendations. So the overall budget, what the 6.8 recommended, this is where it's broken down between departments. So you can see here, 36% of the municipal budget goes towards public works, 10% towards capital, council 2%, facilities and recreation 11%, and so on. You can see that there. And this is the slide that shows the variance between the previous year's budget and the current year's proposed budget. You can see the difference in the capital versus reserve and reserve fund here, and then broken down by department. So this slide is basically what makes up the difference from the previous year. So you can see the 833,000 that is explained here. That's the additional amount in taxes here that we'll need to raise. So the 9,000 was an increase in revenues, again, from the daycare and penalty and interest. Wages and benefits went up. So anything in red with brackets around it, that is an increase in expense or a decrease in revenue. But in most of these cases, it's an increase in expense. So the wages and benefits, you can see increase in insurance audit, general office. So some of these things, it's difficult to elect to decrease. For example, insurance, we can't really decrease that. We need to put the budget in there as what we assume it's going to be. And if we're lucky, it will be less, but now we'll get into some of these that require more decision making. I've added slides for council's consideration. So the wages, grants and donations, website maintenance and cybersecurity measures are kind of important to add now, because as we're seeing in the insurance industry, the cyber is becoming more expensive and less reliable. There are less providers of it. So we need to basically beef up our own procedures just in case the insurance won't cover it. Programming costs, that's for the recreation programming. The building, like repairs and maintenance and utilities, is up 12,000. Again, we can't really change much of that. The Wardsville outlet drains is, Greg can probably explain that cost, but that's, I think, the drainage petition for, I don't know if you want to jump in, Greg, or you want me to finish up and then we can address that after, but I've estimated the increase for COLA and growth for waste management, locates and loose gravel and dust control. We don't have a lot of control over those costs either. Police is down and building and bylaw enforcement is down. Outside fire protection is up a bit. That'll be cost of living too. And then the fire department needed some replacement carbon fiber air bottles. The debenture increased slightly, and the capital and reserve increase overall was 200,000. Again, I'm sorry, I keep coughing on you. Okay, so the change in salaries that you saw above the total, this is the breakdown. So for this people that were the same positions 1 year over the next, about a 1.69% increase, mostly due to cost of living. And then the expanded contract for the recreation coordinator, meaning proposing to keep her from January until September rather than May to September. So that is the increased cost. And I put notes at the bottom here as well too. So the additional operators in recreation will respond to the expanded requirement of the department due to the increased fragility of the volunteer organizations. So we've benefited from the generosity of many community organizations. However, that's become part of our regular maintenance. So we've seen in the last couple of years, some of our volunteer organizations that were able to take care of some of our gardens are either, didn't have the volunteer capabilities due to COVID, and sometimes now it's just because of an aging organization. So our staff has taken those on. The additional summer operator in public works would be responsible for sidewalk maintenance, because the past practice of spraying the weeds on the sidewalks we can't do that going forward. A development review coordinator is a new position proposed and would respond to the increasing development demands and would support finance, public works, and administration. We have seen many proposed developments come across council's desk. So we know that we've got a lot of work coming down the pipe very shortly. And the increase in fire, that's a hard one to predict and control because it's really based on responses. So will it be 18,000 higher? It's hard to gauge ahead of time, but based on the average of the last few years, that's what it looks like it could be. So the donation requests this year, you can see what we've received in 22 versus what we received in the previous year, and then a little explanation. So Canada Day is fairly static each year. The Athens Cemetery, we support the cemeteries, 75% of the cemetery's insurance, and that's really to help them to continue to operate. The Agricultural Society submitted an application for $10,000 for landscaping around the building. The Celebrate Community Committee asked for $1,800, and that's for Family Day, Tartan Days, Halloween. Quad County, $2,000, that's the same from last year. Melbourne Agricultural Society asked for an additional $5,000 this year for operating funds. Quest Center and Eckford Museum are the same. The Melbourne Firefighters Association requested $2,000 towards an outdoor ice rink in Melbourne. The Glencoe Figure Skating Club requested waiver of March ice rental fees due to the closure of their bingo hall. The Glencoe Ag Society regular contract has a regular cost of living increase. And then new businesses, memorials, remembrance, St. Vincent de Paul, the School Breakfast Club, the cemeteries. And then I usually budget for just a blanket $2,000 in case something comes in that council elects to support after the fact. And we did not get applications this year that we had in previous years from the Girl Guides, which I think was a one-time request. The Santa Claus Parade for the Agricultural Society, Four Counties Health Team, that is more to do with a reduced fee for the rental of the upstairs at the arena. So that was really covered in the fees and services bylaw. The Women's Rural Resource Center and the White Elephant Sale. So you can see overall requests are almost 13,000 over the previous year. Here's where our reserve balances sit right now. And where I kind of envisioned us going from here is if council would like to decide on a rate that they would like to get to, staff can present opportunities to get to that rate, but really where your opportunities would come from are capital, grants and donations, the recreation program delivery costs, and then service levels and staffing costs really are the four categories that I see for opportunity here. And that's the end of the slideshow. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Kristen. That was very well done. I like some of the options you provided in that slide presentation. I think my opening remarks were, I think, we want to try to get to a comfort level. We know that we have some challenges ahead of us, and there will have to be some tough decisions made. We certainly want to try to maintain our level of service, if not increase it marginally. remain a viable and competitive community for new residents. Challenges, we'll have our share. There's no question about it. But I did like that slide that offered the various tax rate increases and what our goals of paring away at this would have to entail. So council, I'll open the floor for questions directed to the chair, to Kristen, and she'll try to accommodate an answer for you. And thanks again, Kristen. Yes, Councillor Vink, you start us off.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Kristen, I did mention to Wendy I was going to bring this up to notify Kristen. I do have a complaint, and it's to do with the farms, of course. I don't like the remark where it says more and more local rural residential commercial property owners are the ones supporting local farmers through local property taxes. Because as your slide indicates, one particular farm west of Wardsville is paying 179% more over between 2014 and 22. So I certainly beg to differ that anybody subsidizing farmers is the other way around. It's we don't get the same services out in the country as you do in town. And then to have that remark, I think it's misinformation.
Well, we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable, Martin. You're no problem you stating your opinion, but it's not Kristen's intention to offend anybody here. If you have a disagreement, that's one thing, but you can disagree, but let's not be disagreeable. So continue on, but lighten up your style a bit.
No,
and there's two hands up. Kristen, do you want to respond to that?
I can explain what I mean by that. I don't mean that we are subsidizing the farmers. I mean that our tax base is, we have to come up with more of the difference that the province has taken from us and not replaced with the OMPF. So we have our tax base is, we've had 15 million basically taken away because of the upper levels of government changing how they are giving the property tax rebate to the farmers. It used to be at the provincial level, now it's at the municipal level, and they were supposed to be refunding the municipalities through OMPF. So every time they scale that back, it means that Southwest Middlesex has to up their taxes overall to offset that. So it doesn't mean that we're subsidizing farmers. It means that Southwest Middlesex is subsidizing the provincial government effectively.
Okay, thank you. Jill, you go ahead, and Martin, will come back to you following Jill.
Sure, thanks, Mayor Mayhew. Yeah, I would just add to what Kristen has said. It's property tax is the single biggest source of revenue for municipalities, and this is an issue that we have, along with many other municipalities in rural parts of Ontario, have brought to the attention to the province through both the Ministry of Finance and Municipal Affairs. Because prior to 1997, municipalities with farmland received 100% of property taxes at the residential rate. And the provincial program was what provided the farmers directly with a 75% subsidy. That got changed, and what Kristen has described is correct. That is how things have shifted. It was supposed to be then a revenue neutral program, but with that reduction in what the OMPF, which originally started as a CRF, has changed. That is absolutely the outcome that has happened. You have more rural residential and commercial property owners are the ones that are providing more support for the municipalities to continue to do what they were doing before. That was then shifted through this program change. So it is an area where local municipalities continue to raise with Ministry ministries to say this isn't working necessarily the way that I think it was intended, because it does shift a burden to rural municipalities in a way that probably was perhaps not intended.
Okay, Martin, you have a follow-up statement there I think you wanted to make. I don't want to cut you off. Did you want the floor again, Martin?
Well, just for a quick second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I-
And then
Okay,
I'll
thank you,
take the deputy
Mayor
mayor's
Allen.
question after that. Go ahead, Martin.
Just okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. By the same token as what Kristen and Jill says, it also affects the rural farms. They have had the biggest increase over that intervening time. So this, again, I say the result is not correct here. The rural farmers have been affected the most by this change in the rebate, more so than the residential and the commercial property owners. That's my only point. Thank you.
Okay. And I remind you that their assessment has gone up, and in many cases, it's also a tax deductible expense where it's not on residential. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I was just going to make a comment to Councillor Vink. And Councillor Vink, this is where your presence would really be advantageous at AMO or Roma when 5 of county councillors do go to give delegations to different ministries for this exact reason. So if you feel this strongly about it, and I'm sure you do, it might be beneficial to you and the other farmers in the community if you went to the conferences and represented them during the delegations that we asked for with the different ministries. Just a comment, Mayor Mayhew.
Thank you. Continuing on, questions thank you, Deputy Mayor. Continuing on with questions, Council, are there any others that you wish to direct to Kristen through the chair? Yes, Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I noticed that Wardsville Sewer charge was only about $5,000. Hasn't it been a lot more than that in previous years, and why is it lower?
It has, there has been, they didn't lose as much as we had anticipated in the last year or 2 years. So they had a little bit in their reserves for that. So it's between that and the increase in revenue, a little bit of decrease in costs. Overall, we just needed to subsidize. Overall, the system is still losing. They just had some money tucked away aside.
Okay, and that was used for that. Okay, to counter that. And Mark, you have a follow-up question. Please go ahead.
Yeah. My follow-up to that would be, I think that Wardsville Sewer one line should be 0, because people in Glencoe pay quite a bit for their sanitary sewers, and those of us out in the country pay a lot to put in a private septic system. Usually it's $20,000 or $25,000. One guy told me it cost him $40,000 to put in a raised bed. And then if you have a private system, every time it needs pumped, you have to pay it yourself, and it's about $200 to get your septic tank pumped. So I see no reason why we should be subsidizing the Wardsville system. It's unfair to all the rest of the taxpayers in Southwest Middlesex.
That's thank you for your comment. That's why I think Wardsville will have the opportunity for growth. It's has a very good inventory of land, and that's where we need development in that area, Mark, to compensate for some of those expenses, and then we could perhaps achieve that. Kristen, any reply to that at all? And Councillor Cowell, I saw your hand go up. You're okay, Kristen?
I'm good.
Okay, Councillor Cowell, please go ahead.
I had a question about the proposed staff for the operations triangle. And so it looked to me, and I'll have to go back and find which screen it's on, but it looked to me we were looking at including an additional part-time rec member for the winter, an additional part-time rec member for the summer, and an additional whatever I just said. There was one for summer, one for winter, and then a public works member for the summer. And you had mentioned that the public works member for the summer was for weeds. I'm going to assume that the rec summer person is in addition to the weeds and the maintenance around the property. What is the part-time? And through the chair to Greg, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Greg, if you could
I
accommodate.
think I got most of that. It was in and out for me, but I'll just take a shot at it. The particular positions that have been added to Public Works will really deal with grass, weeds, etc. on the road systems, county road systems, our own roads, which I think everybody's aware that what we went through last summer with regards to the number of calls and that sort of increase in service delivery.
I'm sorry, that wasn't what I was inquiring about, specifically the rec department winter operation.
So that really is the response to the number of hours at the arena. So and the covering of the full operation 7 days a week at the arena. So if that's the winter part of it, is that what you're getting at, Councillor Cowell?
Yep. I understood the summer positions. I just wasn't sure we discussed the winter component. Thank you.
Now, that may change a little bit as we move forward in the future, but at this particular point and before these renovations at the arena, that's what we have now. When we first started with the restructuring, we had 25 hours of ice a week, and that has doubled, at least doubled or more than that. And we need to provide staff to perform that activity there.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
I have a follow-up
Yes,
question.
and Councillor Cal, you have a follow-up question? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So to renovate the arena, I know we haven't approved it yet. However, there is the expectation that we might have some downtime in our arena. Will that impact our ice rentals for the 2022-2023 year that employee would be there?
Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Through you, Mary Ellen. Yes, I think if if we are looking at having the arena shut down for a period of time, then certainly the staffing will be cut back to reflect that part of the operation. It's kind of a twofold thing as well, because if you don't cut back, in the part-time end of things there, then you're also not getting any revenue if the arena is open. So you have to make sure that you can try to cover that off. So there is flexibility to do that, but we will wait to hear back from the province with regards to that project and see how that goes. But currently, what we have in place right now is in response to the use going on at the arena.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. And Councillor Vink, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I believe this question will be to Greg. At the risk of once again getting heck, I personally don't think we need a review coordinator, new position. At the time we had a reorganization, we have another person in the office as opposed to what we had before. And $100,000, $99,466 is a lot of money. We didn't have a director of operations before. I believe that director of operations should be able to look after this development. Don't forget the engineers do a lot of the work as well. So and we have to make some tough decisions when you're looking at a 6.5% increase. And this is where I would start right off the bat.
Okay.
To eliminate that position.
Okay, your opinion's been expressed. Thank you, and Councillor McGill, your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Through the mayor, I'd like to ask Councillor Vink he said this before too, that we have one more person in the office since the reorganization. I think we have one less person because we did have Steve McDonald and Greg Storms in the office. Steve left, we reorganized. Now we just have Greg in the office. We have one less person in the office, not one more.
Well, Alex Yardy is in there as well, Mark.
And Rob Cole. And
They're not in
Greg
the
Starks.
office.
Yeah, that's true.
Those are office positions.
Well,
They're
not there all the time. Those guys put boots on. Yeah. No,
Well,
they're
that's the way it was
not.
set
They're
up.
not They're not. I say in the office. They're not part of administration.
That's the way
Okay.
it was set up with the reorganization, so.
Okay. And like I said before, as a council, perhaps we can disagree, but we don't want to be disagreeable. Okay. Any other questions? Kristen, I see your hand up, followed by Councillor Cal. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. The development review coordinator position too, Jill's doing part of the work, Greg's doing part of the work, and finance is also doing part of the work. So the worry is that as the work increases, we want to be able to keep on top of the, deposits coming in. This is from a finance perspective, and applying all of the costs to the appropriate deposits and keeping everything rolling with all the development. So it's not just the implications on public works, it's on all of the departments.
Okay, Councillor Cal, followed by Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Go ahead, Krista.
I have a two-part one question. So yesterday, I had a chance to speak with one of our planning applicants in our meeting this afternoon. And they said, as helpful as our planner was, they found it challenging to get in contact with her, and they would have appreciated more opportunities to talk with her. Questions, and he also said that he very much understood how busy she was, and so that was a direct reflection of the service level that we currently have through Middlesex County. And I think the idea behind this position is to look at development in our community that we hope is going to grow and provide the opportunity to increase that service level so that
Yep. Councillor Cal.
service they're hoping for. So when I was researching this project, I looked at what development coordinators make in other communities because I thought this was a lot of money. And perhaps we could reduce the amount, but this includes benefits and everything else. So this position in Toronto, for example, made $87,000.
Yeah,
Thing I would suggest, and this is a
Am I the
question.
only one that's experiencing that? Okay, she's cutting out on you, Mark? Okay, thank you. Yep, I just didn't know whether it was me or Councillor Cal.
If it's all right, I'll turn my video off and maybe that'll make my
Yeah, I
internet
can.
better.
You're fine now, Chris. I'm sorry to interrupt you on that,
No,
but
that's okay.
we want to hear what you have to say.
Did you,
Yeah, I got most of it. It was just broken up a little at times.
so when searching for this position in Toronto, like I had mentioned, it was $87,000, and this was the qualifications of a planner. So a bit more qualified than what we needed. But so my question through the chair to perhaps Jill or Greg is, what level of education are we looking for? Are we looking for a university graduate who has a planning background? Do you think that?
Yep. I'm not sure.
I know that off the time.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got your question, Councillor Cal. I'll let Jill answer you, but Jill, we don't want to dwell on this. We do have some significant work to go over, but go ahead. If you could paraphrase what type of candidate you would be looking for?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Councillor Cowell. Through you, Mayor, The job position, I think I mentioned this, was evaluated by Mary Ann Love to see where it would fit based on what we were looking for, as well as the qualifications we were seeking. So we weren't necessarily looking for a planner. We were looking for someone with some experience and some post-secondary education for sure that's related, but it could be a variety of fields, and the college level would be likely the minimum level that we would be looking at. However, if someone had a vast amount of experience in the sector and was applicable to what we were looking at, I think we would consider that type of candidate as well. So best case scenario, yeah, we would be looking for someone with some type of technical skills with the training at a college level, but university, if we had candidates that were interested with that background, we'd certainly take a look at it if the position is approved.
Okay, and Councillor Cowell, thank you, Jill. Councillor Cowell, you said you had a second part to that question?
The first part was talking about the ratepayer. The second part was asking about the education.
Okay. All right, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I do agree with Krista on this. I've heard that members of the public that are doing any type of development and planning and building, they want a position like this just to help streamline the process, help where staff are probably overtaxed now. And I think if we didn't go forward with this, we'd be making a huge mistake, especially considering the development that we have on the books in the next few years. This will just help with that, Martin. So I will definitely not support removing that from the budget.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
Just a quick comment. Personally, and this is me because I live on a farm, so maybe it's a different perspective, but I look at this and I think the $53,000 we've set aside for weeds and flower maintenance,
Yeah, Krista has
in
frozen up.
comparison to, oh, turn my video off. There we go. We can hear me a little better. I was commenting about the benefit of having a development person versus having 2 staff members to tackle our weed issue in this town.
Okay, comment. Yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Mayor Mayhew, my question's to Greg. A few years ago, at budget time, the Southwest Middlesex Council of the day decided not to replace the sweeper. What impact did that have, do you believe, on the current situation with the weeds in the streets and sidewalks in our built-up areas?
Yeah, through you, Mary Ellen, I obviously, the sweeper would probably be removing some of those weeds, as, certainly the areas that we had, inside some of the hamlets or in the downtowns and that type of thing. But, the current sweeping program is at the same level as, ever since I've been here that we have. So I don't think that was as much of a factor as the factor of using, Roundup. And that did happen for a number of years. And, I don't know a lot about it. All I know is that when we took this over, it's just not available to us to use Roundup in those particular areas itself. So, that is certainly a situation where when we get calls, we want to respond. And, I guess this year too was one of those years that was perfect for weed growth.
Yeah. And,
if you find weeds back on Syme Street, that's what these positions would address. But, I'm not sure that us owning a sweeper or, us converting over to a contract sweeper, made that much of a difference, because I think the frequency is very similar to what it was in the past. But I think it's more in terms of the good climate we had for weed growth, as well as some of the spraying that's gone on in the municipality in the past that we just couldn't do this year. And I think part of it too is people were at home, people did see weeds and made phone calls, but that was a little bit of a different service level that we had in the past. We responded to all those, but it was just this was us responding to that sort of increase in service level moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead, Mike. This is your first question. Go ahead.
Mayor Mayhew. I guess just since our organizational restructuring, we were informed by staff that we would be saving money on salaries. With these new costs that we're being presented with here today, will we be paying more or less in salaries since our organizational restructuring?
And Michael, who are you directing that question to?
To
Kristen?
Greg.
Oh, Greg. Okay. Yeah. He may not have the numbers. If not, Kristen can follow up.
Yeah, I think through you, Mary Ellen, I think Kristen could hopefully help me out here. If not, we can provide some numbers after, but I think
Okay, that's fine. Kristen, would you feel comfortable now, or would you do some homework on that?
I would have to bring that back.
Okay, that's fine. Michael, we'll make sure you get that answer, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. And perhaps, Kristen, you can share it with the rest of council. Yeah. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, and through you quickly, Mary Ellen, because I think through Councillor Vink's question earlier on, I mean, there were some names raised here with regards to those staff individuals. And I just want to make a quick comment with regards to those two particular positions, the public works supervisor as well as the facilities and rec supervisor. They're not positions that sit in offices every day. Neither of them do. They're on the road, and certainly they have an administrative role because that's part of the new work environment that we exist in every day, which is a digital environment. You know, the idea that Rob Cole sits in an office every day is wrong. And the public works supervisor basically is out there, delivering the day-to-day operations. And this is service delivery that we're talking about. So, our response to an increase in concerns, complaints, in that sort of level of service delivery is to, prepare stuff and put that in the budget. It doesn't mean that it has to move forward, but at the same time, it is making council aware that this is the service delivery increase that we got this season, and this is our response to it. But the restructuring itself as well has worked fantastic, and you can certainly find that out if you make a complaint or you're a counselor that wants an answer to something. Those two individuals work daily at servicing the residents, and it's I just want to make sure that people understand that those two individuals work extremely hard, and they do not sit in offices every day. It's a quasi positions that work in the field and deliver the day-to-day operations for the municipality and for the residents.
Well, that's true. I see Rob on the road many times during the course of a day in my travels, and Alex at times too. Okay, continuing on, we'll get that information back to you. Doug Bartlett, first question. Councillor Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Kristen, I believe. And I apologize, I lost my internet. I hope I'm not out of line with my questions here. Under the reserves, there's a Trillium grant reserve for 45,000. Can you tell me what that's for and what we're able to use that reserve for?
Absolutely. So we were at one point setting aside money each year for that, just so that we could respond. Usually when a Trillium grant becomes available, there's a municipal portion required as well. So that's just to respond to the municipal portion of a grant. It's not earmarked for anything in specific.
Okay, thank you. And one more if I could.
Go ahead.
It's a small item again under reserves, and that's the Logan Little batting cage. I believe that was a one-time thing, and I also think that's been looked after. Like that project's been completed. I just wondering what we could do with that reserve.
Yes, I did ask Steve that before he left. I don't want to do anything with it until we're instructed by the family, because the funds were raised in his name. So I don't know if they would like us to refund the balance to them or keep it in a reserve to update the machine when it needs it. But we can definitely follow up with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, any further questions? Kristen, Krista, did I see your hand go up there? You're okay? All right. The mayor has a couple, Kristen, if you wouldn't mind. One, I think it should be emphasized too that with impact freezing, the assessment rate has really impacted us financially on this. It's probably the root cause of many of the challenges that we have before us. It affects us in many, many ways. And just a comment there, but Kristen, I was surprised we didn't get some discussion on page 16 of the slide presentation. How do we get to where we want to go? I think that was very useful in previous budgets where council tried to figure, and you have to be very realistic about this. You can't be idealistic, you have to be realistic. Like, where do you want to go in terms of a tax rate increase? And I was very pleased to see the increments on getting from a 6% tax rate increase down to a 0% tax rate increase, and what would be required. And of course, savings of anywhere from $58,000 to $665,000. Very often, the comfort level is found in the middle. The truth is found in the middle. And Kristen, I like that slide. You implied that it helps administration if you have some reflection from council on that. Could you speak to that, please?
I could, absolutely. Staff did talk about whether or not we should include how we would pare things down if it were up to us. Now, I wasn't sure if that was helpful for council. We can certainly do that. If you want to give us a target that we want to get to, it depends. There are things in here that are they're not just easy one-off projects for the most part. They're bigger picture items, like as far as the items raised in the recreation master plan and those types of things. So really, that's why I offered the slides at kind of towards the bottom with the salaries, the donations, the capital. Those are going to be where your easier low-hanging fruit are. However, I suspect that for some of the counselors, they're not focused on getting to an amount, they're focused on voting on the projects. So I think that's why we held off on doing that. However, we absolutely can.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Councillor Cal, please go ahead.
I have two comments that will help us make some movement, I hope. So I had a chance today to talk with Councillor Vink, and he's not here, so darn. But I'll explain to you folks what I had a chance to talk to him about. So one of the things we've talked about is purchasing land in Wardsville for a multi-use building. And in it, we talked about and it would have a $27,000 impact on the tax rate this year. We do have a line item in our reserves that is for Wardsville Fire Department, building a new building that Councillor Vink and Councillor Schuldeis, I believe, started the process of having that reserve done. So when I did have a chance and I called Councillor Schuldeis and I did call Councillor Vink, perhaps in this year, we could use the money for the reserves to keep the tax rate low for this year and to expedite that project. So I mean, we can wait to make that motion until Councillor Vink is here. Alternatively, I'd be willing to make the motion that the amount for this year purchasing the property would be coming from that.
Yeah, Councillor Cal, you are breaking up there.
Did everyone hear what I said? I was like, hey, we're going to take the money from that line item.
Yep, that's an option that council can certainly consider.
I made it a motion though, so I'm not
Okay.
sure if you caught that part.
Okay, you were considering making that a motion. You didn't definitively state that. Are you now? We'll need
Approve that project and that the money from it this year comes from the reserves for the new fire hall in Wardsville.
Okay. The chair will have to ask for a seconder on that with a motion on the floor. And Mike, are you seconding that, or do you have a question? Okay. Okay, I'll take that. We'll see if there's a seconder for that. Yes, Jill, go ahead.
Thank you. Just because you did break up a little bit there, Councillor Cowell, can you repeat this motion so that both the treasurer and I understand that?
Yep. Go ahead, Krista.
So I'll turn my video off. Please interrupt. So the motion was that to move forward with the purchase of land to build a new fire hall, that we use the money from the reserves for the new fire hall. There's $86,000 to move forward with this project, and the $27,000 that would impact this year's tax budget.
Yeah, Krista, you're breaking up.
To be debentured.
Okay. We lost that too, Krista, just towards the end there. Yeah. We lost you, Krista, just towards the end.
All right, I will call. Do you want me to say it and then you can just say whether or not I am repeating it properly?
Yes.
Okay. So from what I understand, Krista is making the motion that they move forward with the purchase of the land in Wardsville for the multi-use building, and that we pull $27,000 this year from the Wardsville Fire Hall Replacement Reserve Fund.
Okay, all right. Okay, Councilor Scholdice, I haven't forgot your question. I will ask for a seconder for this motion. Is there one? I'll ask, Chair will ask one more time. Is there one? Seeing none, the motion is defeated. I would like to say to Councillor Cowell, I respect your motion very, very much, and I don't want you to lose heart with that, Krista. I think this will be in discussions very shortly over the next couple of meetings, and it will. I hope, as chair and as mayor, that it comes back in a format that would be acceptable to council. Thank you very much, and we'll keep this on our radar. Councillor Scholdice, thank you for your patience. Michael, go ahead.
We can move along for the sake of time, Mayor Mayhew.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
With the motion not passing, I have no question.
That's great. And I'm looking at the clock, Councillor. I'd like to give you a lunch, a supper hour here. And but just in reference to that slide on 16, I would really appreciate if council would look at that and be realistic about, we're trying to maintain our level of service or increase it ideally as a body of governance. We want to make sure we know the effect on our tax rate of the initiatives we do. And does it provide an equitable or fair approach towards all three wards in Southwest Middlesex? And those are guidelines I always like to follow. I have expressed a starting point for discussions to Krista and Jill privately. And I think that if please feel free to reach out to Jill or Kristen in reference to that slide 16. And inform them of where their comfort level is. Yes, Kristen, go ahead.
If we could maybe council provide some direction on either whether or not they want to give us a target tax rate, or whether they want us to bring back just a list of decisions to be made and we can just go through one by one the decisions.
Good. I put forth the carrot. a couple of times on that slide 16 of where you'd like to see that tax rate go, and I did not see a motion to that effect. It's not, this is not finalizing our budget. It's giving us I think we're going to have several steps to arriving at a budget that will be accepted and passed and bylaws written. This would be one of the first of perhaps several steps that we will have to do. I can assure you that as mayor, I do not, I think we can acquire more than $58,000 in cuts from this, from what has been proposed. I do not want to see a 6% tax increase. Is there anyone that would make a motion that would reflect slide 16 as where a comfort level would be? Councillor Cal, I see your hand.
I'm not making a motion, but I would like to see some cuts made to the budget before we pick a percentage arbitrarily. I would like to say that this, and this should be cut. And then once we've made some definitive cuts that we can all agree on, then perhaps we come back and say, okay, that put us at a tax rate of this. Now, where do we feel comfortable? Because that's when the hard decisions will have to be made.
So, Kristen, if the chair has to have motions and seconders in order to direct administration on how to proceed. Council make the decisions, and administration carry out our wishes, and they are asking us to give them some parameters here. Councillor Bartlett.
I'd make a motion that we ask staff to come back with a list of options and then try to pinpoint down a percentage from there.
Okay. And it'll somewhere be between the top and the bottom. Is there a seconder for Councillor Bartlett's motion? Deputy Mayor Wilkins, thank you. Is there any discussion that you would like to go through the chair to Kristen? Councillor Cal, please go ahead.
I won't be supporting this motion, mostly because we asked staff to come and give us some recommendations on what we should be voting on, and we haven't done that yet. So I'd like us to during the meeting and come back tomorrow prepared to make our decisions on what we want cut as councillors representing this ward. So that's all.
Okay. I think the motion has been moved. Yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Mayor Mayhew, my question is to Jill. She's got 2 meetings down for next Wednesday, and considering we've only got 4 candidates for the replacement of the council position, could we move to 1 meeting and then turn this budget meeting over to next Wednesday to give staff a little more time to work on this? Doesn't give them much time for tomorrow.
No, unless, yes, Jill, go ahead.
Yeah, through the mayor. Yep, sure. That's a perfectly reasonable if the motion gets passed by council to direct us to prepare some options to reduce the tax rate increases, then yeah, probably would be helpful to have a little bit of time to work on that report, and then we can adjust the schedule if that's what council would like to do.
Okay, well, let's carry this motion through. It's been moved and seconded. I'm going to call for questions on this, but if this motion passes, then we will consider giving staff adequate time to come back and discuss this. Councillor Scholdice, I think I saw your hand, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wanted to let you know that I've been contacted by Councillor Vink, and he's unable to get back onto the meeting. He's been disconnected and he's trying to rejoin. And I just wondered if it would be possible if we could repeat what Councillor Bartlett's motion was. I didn't catch it.
Sure can. Yes, I'm going to ask Jill to repeat that to see if she has got that. Did you manage to capture that, Jill?
Yeah, so through you, Mayor, just on the first point for Councillor Scholdice, Councillor Vink reached out to me as well. So I resent him the link about 15 minutes ago. So perhaps he's having trouble just generally with the internet. But as I understood Councillor Bartlett's motion was that council directs staff to prepare options for reduced tax rate increases for future budget deliberations. Is that, but I don't know if he heard me.
I think Councillor Bartlett, if you can hear that, did you manage to capture that, Doug?
No, I'm sorry. I just got back on. I
Okay,
apologize.
well, we can do it again. It won't take long, Doug. Keep your ears open.
Yeah, I think as I understood it, Councillor Bartlett, the motion was that council directs staff to prepare options for reduced tax rate increases for future budget deliberations.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and Jill, we have a seconder for that, have we? Yep, we do. Okay, yep, got it. All right. Questions? I'll open the floor. Councillor McGill, I see your hand. Go ahead, Mark.
I think I can support this motion, although it might be helpful if we did give staff kind of a number we're looking at, but haven't really heard anybody come up with one. Myself, 4 to 5% in that range I could accept, I think. But that's not in this motion, so I guess at some point we're going to have to come up with a number. I know, like, we're only giving our staff less than 2%, so for some people, you know, a 4 to 5% increase is a lot more than the increase in what they're going to be earning is. Other people are on fixed incomes, but at the same time, costs of so many things have gone up, you know. If we pick a 4% tax increase, I think we'd almost have to have a 4% tax increase to leave services at the same level they're at now, just because of increase in costs.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Councillor McGill, you can always ask for a friendly amendment.
Well, I don't know whether I could say in the 4 to 5% range. Would that be acceptable to the mover of the motion?
Councillor Bartlett, go ahead. This may be premature, such a request. That information may come down the road, but go ahead. What's your wish?
I was hoping to get the list first, but I would
Okay,
accept
if you are, that's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yep, I think knowledge will give us, and information and knowledge will guide council. And I certainly appreciate and compliment staff for taking that on. There may be some options too. We may have, it would be great if we had choices, you know, we can cut this or this. And I know, you know, I am speculating that a 4 to 5% tax increase would not be acceptable to some councillors. Some may wish 3 to 4, some may wish less than that. So we'll certainly entertain that, Mark. It has to be an objective of this council to direct staff with a tax rate increase. And on round 2 of this, perhaps that information can come forth. Council, out of courtesy, I want to ask you if I've missed anybody here. Okay, internet seems very staggered tonight. It seems, yeah, a few problems. And anyway, we wish Martin well. Hope he gets back on. But it is 25 to 6. We'll try to round things out. We can get through the rest of the agenda, and staff will call this motion. All in favor of Councillor Bartlett's motion, seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Motion is all opposed. Okay, noted. And that motion is passed, Jill. And Council Administration, thank you very much again for taking that project on. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the end of Jill. The meeting for tomorrow is canceled, as I understand it. If you could clarify that.
Yes, that's up to council. If you would like to, that might help to give staff some time. And if that's all right with council, then we would just adjust the schedule as mentioned.
Okay, is it necessary? Can the chair cancel that meeting, Jill, or do you need a motion to that effect?
Well, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that between yourself and myself, we can cancel.
Okay, I think the chair will, out of courtesy to staff and to provide a more wholesome report and more informative to council for better decision-making, we'll cancel the budget meeting on the 25th, tomorrow. Okay, and I think we've got that. Jill, you've got your directive from council. It has passed. And all votes are noted. Kristen, can we move on to item number 5 then in the agenda? Or I don't want to cut you off. You're okay there? I lost you. Where are you? There you are. Gotcha. You're okay?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Unfinished business, council. Is there any? Seeing none. Bylaws, the recommendation of the bylaw is before you. Can I have a mover to accept the recommendation of the bylaws? Is there a mover? We've got Councillor Bartlett and moved it, and a seconder. I missed that. I saw Kristen, Councillor Scholdice. Thank you. Krista, you put up your hand there, and I thought, geez, you can't second a motion. Anyway, it's there. We've the bylaws. The motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor that the bylaws be dealt with as recommended? Opposed? Carried. Future meetings, November 25th is canceled. December 8th is still on, Jill, and December 15th. And we look forward to your report. And Jill, would you like the floor before we adjourn?
Yeah, as I understood it, you would be adding a December 7th or 1st, sorry, December 1st in the evening.
Okay, December 1st. If I'll give the council a moment to check their calendars. I'm checking mine.
Oh, you know what?
Yep. What, Mark?
Oh, I should have said this sooner. I have another meeting December 1st, and I actually promised the person I could be there. I said, no, I don't have council that night. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. We've already, I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead, Jill.
So it's quite possible you've got 2, additional meetings, December 8th, December 15th. If council is not finished with the budget at that point, would just carry on in January. So, that's possible as well, to just leave it with the next 2 meetings. And if more meetings are needed, we can accommodate that as well.
Okay, Jill, and I think that is wise advice. We're not in a hurry to pass this. I know the county's budget is going to go beyond December 31st, certainly, and it'll go into January, possibly even February. So we will make sure we have a wholesome discussion here. So the meeting, all right, we've got that, and we'll certainly clarify that, and I'll ask Jill to advise council of the changes. Perhaps an email can go out, Jill, indicating the wish of council, so everyone has an understanding that the meeting is canceled tomorrow, and when the items, the meetings on budget are discussed, and perhaps to the special meetings reviewing the candidates for the late Mr. Crothers position. Okay. Bylaws are passed. Future meetings we're going to deal with. It is 5:39, and the chair will adjourn the meeting. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone at 7 o'clock. And hopefully all our internet issues will be corrected by then.